Hi friends, my name is Tendai Nyati and I'm so excited to be presenting to you guys the first ever segment of a brand new series that we have started that is called Through the Bible. And basically through this series we will be discussing various chapters of the Bible and just taking a journey into the Bible from the beginning until the end. And for starters, we're going to look at the story of creation, and this is based on the book Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2. And so from Genesis chapter 1 we learn about how the world was from the beginning, that it was void and there was nothing in it. And God starts by separating light from darkness. And after he separates light from darkness, we see him separating the waters on earth and those of heaven, creating sky and as well as the earth below. And apart from that, also going on into the following days, we see him separating the waters on the earth, creating land and the seas and all that we see. And going on further into the coming days, we see him also creating the plants that we see, the trees, and all these various vegetation that we see around. And as we go on into the subsequent verses in chapter 1, we see him also creating the different creatures that we see in the seas and those of the skies, and also creating the various animals that we see on this earth. But as we reach verse 26, which is day 6, we find something interesting. So previously, God just speaks these things into existence, right? Let there be light, let there be waters, let there be various creatures in the waters. But this time around, he says, come now, let us form man in our own image. And we are told that God picks dirt or soil from the ground and forms man into his own image. And apart from that also, he gives man responsibilities that man is supposed to do, which is to take care of the earth, to be a steward on this earth, to take care of all of nature. And also the first man who was ever created, Adam, is given the privilege to name all the animals. But we are told that as this was going on, God sees that, okay, there's no helpmate for this person, because every other animal seems to have company, but there's no one like this man. And so God puts the first man into sleep, who is Adam, and from him he gets a rib that he uses to create the first woman, and who is Eve. And we're told that the introduction of Adam and Eve together formed the first marriage ever on earth, which God himself was the author and blessed. And also after day 6, we move on to day 7, which was also a special day that was separate from all these other days, because that was a day that he had finished all the work that he had created and declared that it was good, as he was declaring before, after he had created each and everything that he had created. And on this day we are told that he rested, and this day he set it apart, sanctified it and blessed it. And that's what distinguishes the seventh day from all other days. But why is it important for us to learn all this, or for us to understand all this? Like we had said earlier on, that God himself had created this world from scratch, from nothing to something. And so all this just tells us that this world did not just happen or just come to existence, but it was designed. And everything that is in this world was put there for a purpose. And so even as you look at the previous days, from like day 1 to day 5, you see that this was all that man needed before he could be brought into the earth. And so God creates everything with a purpose. And also on day 6, we see him creating man in his own image. This also tells us that man is very special. He's not just like any other creature. He's created in the image of God. This gives man also a sense of identity, and also to know that we are just not like any other creature or having evolved from anything else, but that God himself stooped down to the ground and created us in his own image. And therefore this shows that we are highly esteemed above creation. But not only that, also man was also given the responsibility to work and to take care of this earth. So this also just gives us an idea of what is expected to us in relation to nature that is around us. Our responsibility is to care and to take care and to nurture all that is around us. And as we go on into day 7, where he rests, we find something distinct there, where God sets that day apart as a day of rest. And also, just as we were made in his image, it simply tells us that he had set an example for us. You know, even the weekly pattern that we call 1 week, 2 weeks, we see it originating from this period, because every time God created something, and it says in the night and the day, formed the first day. And so this is said about all the other days until the 7th day. So this gives us our weekly cycle, and this just gives us an example of how we ought to live our lives throughout the week. Throughout the days of the week, we are to work and to do all that is expected of us to do. But on the 7th day, just as God had rested, we are also called to enter into the rest. It's not necessarily even for the benefit of anyone else, but it's much more for our own benefits, because we all need that one day that we can just refrain from everything else and just take time to just enjoy all that is around us, all the nature, and also just think about God himself as our creator and what he had and what he had done for us. Yeah, so generally this is the creation story, and I hope that we have learned 1 or 2 things from this. But ultimately, I think something that really stands out for me is understanding the creation story really just helps us to know that even though this world may seem chaotic now, and everything just seems like it's just not making sense, with all these diseases coming in that we have no cure for, and every other disaster that is happening, it's so easy for us to lose hope and feel like there's just, like we just don't know where we're going. But then this story tells us that this world was brought into existence by a designer and was made for a particular purpose. So it just did not happen. And so we know that if God created this world, it means that he's in control, because he knows why he created it, and he knows for what purpose he had created it. Ours is to trust in him and know that he has everything in control. Therefore, we need not to despair or to worry or to fear, but trust that he is in control.